The Netherlands, a country of remarkable wealth and beauty. This land, often referred to as Holland, from the Dutch houtland or wooded land, covers barely 16,000 square miles. Yet it is one of the most densely populated nations on earth. And ruling this kingdom is the very regal, very aristocratic royal house of Orange Nassau. Although the kingdom of the Netherlands dates back to the 16th century, in the past 100 years it has been ruled by three great queens: Wilhelmina, her daughter Juliana, and Juliana's daughter Beatrix. But there's a change on the horizon, for next in line for the throne is the dashing, adventurous Prince Willem Alexander. High on the list of the world's most eligible bachelors. Can he live up to the high standards set by his mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother? The saga of the royal family of the Netherlands is a story of incredible women, with wealth, power, and passion. What do you give a woman with a reported net worth of $5 billion for her birthday? How about a nationwide party? In 1998, European royalty came to the Netherlands to celebrate the 60th birthday of Queen Beatrix. Imagine the crowd's surprise when out of a chartered bus stepped Prince Charles and other illustrious royals. Outside the royal palace, thousands lined up behind security barricades for a look at the Queen's guests, including dozens of European royals and dignitaries. The gala celebration included visits by the Queen and her guests to museums and art exhibits throughout the Netherlands. A highlight of the birthday celebration was a stop at the magnificent Hetlo Palace, for 300 years the summer home of the Dutch royals. About an hour outside of Amsterdam, it is a magnificent vision of how the royal family once lived. Elaborate rooms are filled with decorations and furnishings that reflect the luxury of their lifestyle. Gilded picture frames and window dressings adorn the rooms. Lavishly ornamented ceilings and walls surround the dining room. Ancestral portraits and treasured objects highlight the beauty of these impressive chambers.
This palace, Hetlo Palace, was also the family home of the royal family. So the rooms you see here, you can visit here, are also very intimate and, well, modest in scale and outfit. And you can see it the way the armchairs are put in a circle. It's inviting for the family.
And in this family there was one who held Hetlo most dear, Queen Beatrix's grandmother, Wilhelmina, a stately, strong monarch who inherited the throne in 1890 when she was just 10 years old. Images of her as a sweet-faced teenager on a prancing horse evolve into a courageous wartime leader through the portraits and personal effects that fill her apartments.
Fantasy, myths, ancient beginnings. Elevate your historical exploration to unparalleled heights with a History Hits subscription. Don't miss out on our latest releases, where classicist Natalie Haynes travels to Corfu to unravel the story of the Gorgon Medusa, one of the most iconic yet misconstrued figures of Greek mythology. Join Jasmine Elmer as she dives into something that people have been obsessed with throughout history: dragons. Where did they come from? What exactly is a dragon? Finally, Dan Snow explores the ancient history of the Isles of Scilly and discovers burial grounds built thousands of years ago. Discover hundreds of hours of award-winning documentaries and ad-free podcasts with History Hit. Sign up for a special offer via the link in the description.
And then there is her wardrobe.
Dress was part of the dignity of her function. So she knew she had to look good, and she used beautiful fabrics and expensive fabrics.
Wilhelmina's clothes trace her extraordinary life from her earliest youth to her abdication. As we look closely at what she wore, we learn much about the woman she was. Born on August 31st, 1880, Wilhelmina was bred to be a princess from the beginning by her no-nonsense mother, Queen Emma. That meant sitting for royal portraits. When she was 3 years old, Wilhelmina sat for a studio portrait wearing this exquisite ensemble. Delicate, but as it turned out, not the wisest choice. The following day, Wilhelmina caught a bad cold, which her mother, Queen Emma, blamed on the unheated photo studio. But life had light-hearted moments too. From Wilhelmina's memoirs, we know that 5 o'clock every afternoon was a designated play hour with her father, the king. On these playdates, she often wore short, low-necked dresses, richly decorated in the Madeira work, so popular at that time. And when it came time to play with her donkey, Grisette, she dressed in something sturdier like this robe manteau. Its combination of plain and patterned materials was typical of female fashions of the day. But all too early, Wilhelmina would trade in her colourful frocks for the black shade of mourning. When she was born in 1880, her father, King William III, was already in his 60s. Just 10 years later, in 1890, he died. Mourning clothes were ordered for the new young queen. Seen here with her mother, she wears the dress partly veiled by black tulle and decorated with a necklace of cut black glass. Wilhelmina became queen in 1890, but wasn't officially inaugurated until 1898, when she came of age. In this official inauguration photograph, Wilhelmina wears a sumptuous gown from the French fashion house Nicot. She also wore it to the New Year State Ball. Of this coming out period, she would later write, "I liked this time very much. I was now grown up, and how convinced I was of the importance of that." As a grown-up queen, Wilhelmina now needed a consort. And she found just the man in handsome German Duke Hendrik of Mecklenburg-Schwerin. On a February day in 1901, they were married. Wilhelmina wearing an elegant dress of silver lame embroidered with pearls and sequins. And on her shoulder, a spray of orange blossoms, symbolic of the House of Orange and a traditional emblem of fertility. But not all was a fairy tale for the Queen and her Duke. Early in her marriage, Wilhelmina suffered 3 miscarriages. Finally, in 1909, her only child, Juliana, was born. Like her mother, she was quickly initiated into the protocol of royal life. Again, the formal portraits. In 1914, the royal family was photographed in 17th century royal costumes. The photo became the basis for an oil painting. That same year, a darkness settled over Europe. World War I. The Netherlands remained neutral, but would not keep war at bay forever. 1934 ushered in a dark time for the royal family. Prince Hendrik died. The Queen wore long white mourning clothes for 2 years. She later wrote, "My husband and I had the religious conviction that death is the door to life, and so we promised each other that our funerals would take place entirely in white." Then, in May of 1940, Germany invaded the Netherlands. Wilhelmina, her family, and her government withdrew to England, where they formed a government in exile. Broadcasting from London throughout the war, Queen Wilhelmina became known as the Mother of the Resistance. Her inspired support prompted one French diplomat to say, "The only king in Europe is the Queen of the Netherlands." When the German occupation ended in 1945, the Dutch welcomed Wilhelmina back with great enthusiasm. And she and her daughter, Juliana, responded in kind, visiting her people throughout the Netherlands. Then in 1948, Wilhelmina abdicated the throne to her daughter, Juliana.
After 50 years as queen, Wilhelmina decided to step aside in favor of youth. She said farewell to her subjects by leading 3 cheers for the new queen, her daughter, Juliana.
For this monumental occasion, she wore a dress of mauve satin covered with voile and embroidered with beads. Around the left arm of this heroic queen is clasped the highest English honor, the Order of the Garter. After her abdication, Wilhelmina retired to the palace at Hetlow. With her daughter Juliana now Queen of the Netherlands, Wilhelmina chose to once again be called Princess. Her life had come full circle.
Well, she used to paint and to walk and to write and, well, to have a private life at the end. And perhaps for an old queen, it's very exciting to have such a thing she never knew.
In 1962, at the age of 82, Wilhelmina died at Hetlow. Just as Wilhelmina had worn white to her husband's funeral, now her daughter and granddaughters did so. Wilhelmina had served her nation well for 50 years. In some obituaries, she was referred to as the Dutch Queen Victoria. She would be a tough act to follow. Juliana, the gentle daughter of Queen Wilhelmina. She was shy and unpretentious, but possessed a humanity that would endear her forever in the hearts of her people. When Juliana became Queen of the Netherlands in 1948, she was quick to make changes. She shunned many of the formal protocols of court life. Unlike her strong and stately mother, Juliana wanted to mix with the crowds and reach out to the world. She had a simple, direct manner and was far more approachable than Wilhelmina had been.
Well, Princess Juliana was the mother of the nation, a real mother of the nation, and she had no royal allures. Her mother chose Prince Bernhard as a husband.
Juliana married Prince Bernhard of Germany in 1937. Wilhelmina's only child proceeded to have 4 daughters of her own. Beatrix in 1938, Irene 1939, Marguerite 1943, and Christina 1947. During World War II, to ensure the safety of the monarchy, Juliana protected her daughters by living in Ottawa, Canada, while her husband assisted Queen Wilhelmina in London. Every year since 1945, as a thank you for Canada's hospitality, Juliana sent 15,000 tulip bulbs to Ottawa. Queen Juliana's reign was characterized by her humanity. She dedicated herself to social justice. During the disastrous floods of 1953, the Queen won the hearts of her people by inviting refugees into her royal home. And she helped to oversee the process of decolonization in Indonesia, New Guinea, and Suriname. On April 30th, 1980, by her own wish, Queen Juliana abdicated the throne in favor of her daughter Beatrix. The Kingdom of the Netherlands would continue to be in the good and gentle hands of a queen. Queen Beatrix of the Netherlands, daughter of Juliana and granddaughter of Wilhelmina, is one of the richest women in the world. Just 5% interest on her $5 billion fortune provides an income of $685,000 per day. More than enough to maintain the Queen's collection of highly distinctive hats, for which she is widely known in the world of fashion. Beatrix wears large, colorful hats so she can be recognized from afar.
She wears noticeable hats to symbolize the lack of a crown. You see her everywhere where she walks around. You see her because she wears that fabulous hats.
Some hats are even constructed with tiny springs of steel to keep them firmly in place. And to ensure that her hats never fly off her head, she carries special hat pins to avert a potential fashion disaster. In her public walkabouts, she shakes hands, accepts flowers and children's drawings, and with gracefulness and elegance, she satisfies the major demand placed upon a modern monarch: to be royal and common at the same time. But a member of royalty means being held up to impossibly high standards. It was a lesson Beatrix learned many years ago when she fell in love with a man some thought was the wrong man. His name was Claus Von Amsberg. In June of 1965, Beatrix's engagement to Claus set off a furor because of von Amsberg's childhood membership in the Hitler Youth and his service in the German army. Von Amsberg had been cleared by an Allied court. Still, the wounds of World War II ran deep. To set the people at rest, Beatrix held a press conference to introduce her husband-to-be. What the people saw was a young woman poignantly, at times even awkwardly, in love with a handsome, rather shy man.
Your Royal Highness, could we have a look at your ring? Could you turn it so... yes. And could you tell us... It looks a smashing one.
It's beautiful.
Could you tell us what the stones are in it?
The diamonds. All diamonds.
In those few moments, Beatrix and Claus won over the hearts of many. Despite some protests, the wedding took place on the 10th of March, 1966. Beatrix and Claus looked radiant as they took their civil oath, then proceeded to the church to exchange their vows in front of God. A year later, Beatrix and Claus were blessed with a son, Prince Willem Alexander, the first male royal offspring in 116 years. And the lovely, spirited young boy immediately made his presence felt. And little Willem was not one to be upstaged by his two brothers, Prince Johann Friso and Prince Constantine, who came after him.
The entire Dutch royal family were present for the christening of Prince Friso, second son of Princess Beatrix and Prince Claus. Little Prince Willem Alexander made sure he wasn't left out of the proceedings.
And Willem's sense of curiosity and awe about the world has never left him. Today, the handsome prince is a man of many talents.
He is a very interesting, even intriguing figure, the most intriguing figure in the royal family right now, because he is the heir to the throne, and he will be in the next century, he will be the king of the Netherlands.
Willem also enjoys being one of the guys. He has been sighted in The Hague at O'Casey's Irish pub. He has a taste for beer, which has earned him the nickname Prince Pils, after the Dutch beer.
I think that's one of his great sides, that he is one of the people, you know, everybody can recognize himself in him, because that's part of his upbringing.
Willem's great passion is flying. To maintain his flying skills, he serves as a part-time pilot for KLM Royal Dutch Airlines.
I remember a female passenger stepping to the cockpit after they landed and told Captain Prince William Alexander that he said, "Sir, you are the spitting image of our Crown Prince Willem Alexander." And he started laughing, smiled, and he only said, "Ma'am, there are so many people who are telling me that I even stopped denying it."
The royal lineage from which Prince Willem Alexander comes is full of courageous acts by caring monarchs. The Dutch people honor and love their royals and seem quite content to continue the monarchy. Three great queens, Wilhelmina, Juliana and Beatrix, have set the stage for a king to lead this land in the 21st century. The question is, will Beatrix, like her mother and grandmother before her, abdicate the throne to her son? And if so, when? Whatever the answer, it seems certain that Crown Prince Willem Alexander is ready to step into the spotlight and carry on the incredible legacy of the House of Orange Nassau. Wardrobe provided by Lord and Taylor. She was a beautiful princess in a kingdom of royal opulence. A shy, fair-haired beauty with a flair for fashion and a seemingly endless capacity for compassion. Diana, from the moment she stepped onto the royal stage, she mesmerized the world with her beauty, warmth, and glamour. She became a fashion icon of an age. So bright was her star in the eyes of the British people, and indeed the world, that she sometimes overshadowed the other members of the British royal family. And yet, as we look at the lives of the Windsors over the last century, we discover a family that embodies more than any other what it means to be royal. Theirs is a world of pomp and ceremony, of regal splendor and royal responsibility. Theirs is a story of passion, power, tragedy, and triumph. These are the Windsors, royal family of Great Britain. They come from all over the world, drawn to the mystique of royalty. They come to experience the grandeur of the palaces and the centuries-old pageantry, to witness the majesty of royal protocol and the glamour of royal fashion. Every year, over 5 million people come to celebrate the most famous royal family of all, the Windsors of Great Britain. And when someone raises the issue of discontinuing Britain's royal institution, they are usually reminded that Britain's first family is one of the country's primary tourist attractions. And for their part, the British royal family has earned every bit of attention they receive. For over a century, they have given us a history rich in pride and bravery, passion and scandal, a history filled with intriguing personalities. At the helm of this drama is one of history's most prominent queens, a profoundly dedicated monarch, Elizabeth II. For nearly 50 years, she has guided Britain's monarchy. Ironic when you consider that she was never meant to be a queen at all. She was born in 1926, the eldest daughter of Prince George VI and Princess Elizabeth I. Her father was second in line to the throne after his brother Edward VIII. Lilibet, as Elizabeth was fondly called, was a vivacious child who loved animals. She also enjoyed play acting with her sister, Margaret.
She and her sister Margaret engaged in family theatricals, and she would play things like the handsome prince or a duchess or something along those lines, and she was very good at it.
The princesses shared a very close relationship with their parents.
Their parents took a very strong interest in their raising, and every night would go up and play with them, sometimes to the detriment of sleep, before they went to bed. And just like any young family, they would have pillow fights, and they would laugh and tell silly stories together and play silly games.
But when Elizabeth was 10 years old, destiny came calling. A year into his reign, her uncle, King Edward VIII, decided to marry an American woman named Wallis Simpson. Most shocking, since Mrs. Simpson was a divorcee. The love-struck king was forced to abdicate in one of the worst scandals in Britain's history, the spotlight shifted uncomfortably to Elizabeth's father, George.
This was, in many ways, a tragedy for the royal family because Bertie, as George was known to the family, had a terrible stammer. He was a very shy young man, and suddenly he was thrust upon the world stage, and so was his daughter.
But King George VI proved to be an able king. During World War II, he worked at raising morale by frequently visiting the troops. As heir to the throne, Elizabeth found her life changing. To prepare for her role as future queen, she studied subjects like constitutional history. And soon enough, Elizabeth fell in love. His name was Philip Mountbatten.
It was an immediate attraction. He was her crush. He was the older, blonde, gorgeous, athletic, perfect Leonardo DiCaprio of his time. And she fell head over ears in love with him.
On November 20th, 1947, Elizabeth and Philip were married. Elizabeth was a beautiful bride. Her satin wedding gown was embroidered with pearls and crystals, and on her head a tiara that had been worn by other queens before her. Elizabeth the Princess now had a new role, Navy wife. She and her husband left for Malta, where Philip was stationed. For the first time in her adult life, Elizabeth led an ordinary existence.
She could be like any other Navy wife. She could go shopping. She handled money for the first time, which is rather extraordinary to think of, a woman in her 20s handling money for the first time, and yet she never had.
Children soon followed. Prince Charles in 1948, then 2 years later, Princess Anne. But Elizabeth's carefree life ended in 1953 with the death of her father, King George VI. Elizabeth was crowned Queen Elizabeth II in an elaborate coronation ceremony on June 2, 1953. As Queen, Elizabeth carried out her royal duties with skill and dignity. Her job as a mother proved a far greater challenge. Prince Charles has described his mother as distant but not unkind. And Prince Philip was a strict disciplinarian who sent Charles to a private school in Scotland, famous for its military sternness. Charles abhorred it.
He wrote a letter to his parents, the Queen and Prince Philip, begging to go to some other school, and his father said, no, you must stay at this school because that's what we need to toughen you up.
Loneliness became Charles's constant companion. Although he got on well with his sister Anne, Charles was less close to his younger brothers. He was 12 when Andrew was born, and 16 by the time Edward came along. In fact, Charles's closest relationship was with his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth I. That is until age 32, when Prince Charles met his Cinderella, Lady Diana Spencer.
And I'm amazed that she's been brave enough to take me on. And I suppose in love.
Of course.
Whatever in love means. So.
The wedding took place on July 29, 1981. Diana looked every bit the princess in her silk taffeta dress, with 10,000 mother-of-pearl sequins and pearls, topped by a 25-foot-long train. Not since the marriage of Grace Kelly to Prince Rainier of Monaco had the world been so transfixed by a royal couple. And like Princess Grace, Princess Diana soon became the darling of the paparazzi. For the next 15 years, the world watched as she transformed herself from a shy princess into a loving mother, caring humanitarian, and ultimately a fashion icon. In her book, Diana, The Secrets of Her Style, author Diane Clahane reflects on the princess's incredible sense of fashion.
Diana's style had changed tremendously in the time that she got married until the end of her life. Her style was always evolving.
She often wore theme outfits featuring a country's colors or emblems. When she visited Abu Dhabi, she honored the country's custom which calls for women to cover their heads. She wore a unique blue silk turban. Diana was also practical about fashion. On a visit to France, she wore a red boater hat with a black snood, so she wouldn't have to fuss with her hair. Becoming a mother certainly matured Diana. After she had her sons, William and Harry, in 1982 and 1984, she shed her shy Di image for a more stylish one. But as Diana sparkled on the outside, she was falling apart on the inside. By the early 90s, her personal life with Prince Charles was in shambles. Their marriage had been plagued with stories of Charles's infidelities with an old flame, Camilla Parker Bowles. Diana began suffering from depression and bulimia. Then in 1992, the royal couple separated. So did Prince Andrew and his wife Sarah Ferguson, whom he had married in 1986. Princess Anne also divorced. The failed marriages of 3 of her 4 children was a lot for Queen Elizabeth to handle. She described 1992 as a most horrible year. Despite their split, Diana and Charles agreed to stick together as parents.
Prince Charles and Diana sought to raise their children in a distinctly different way than Charles himself was raised. The 2 boys, William and Harry, apparently are happy at school. They're not obliged to go to a school they didn't want to go to as he was.
The boys in turn adored both their parents. By the time that Charles and Diana officially divorced in 1996, they had reached an understanding that despite their differences, they would not let their children suffer.
Mud was thrown, terrible things were done, many things were unforgivable. But in the end, after they divorced, they began, like many divorced couples, to find ways to repair their relationship. Their relationship was better after the divorce.
And just as things were getting better, just as Charles and Diana were reclaiming their lives, finding new love, an unthinkable tragedy would strike. Diana. She captured our hearts with her beauty, warmth, and undeniable sex appeal. Diana was the people's princess. Perhaps that is why the world reacted with such intense emotion at her untimely death. It was August 1997. Diana was in Paris with her new love, Egyptian millionaire Dodi Fayed, when both were killed in a car crash. The woman who had touched the hearts of so many people was gone. She was just 36 years old.
There was a reaction around the world that I don't think we'll ever see again, and I think that was because she represented so many different things to so many different people.
The events that followed, the funeral, the public outpouring of grief, were astonishing. Millions of cards and flowers were left at Buckingham Palace in honor of Diana. While the world mourned, so too did her beloved boys.
Diana adored her boys, and her boys adored Diana. I cannot begin to imagine any greater love than the three of them had.
Princess Diana helped revitalize the monarchy. She put a human face on Britain's royal institution. In the years since Diana's tragic death, Britain's royal family has tried to continue to reach out to the people. Queen Elizabeth has worked hard to change her own image.
The Queen has sort of been trying to meet the common man, and now sort of pops into pubs, certainly with bodyguards and a whole group of people in tow.
The Queen's children have taken her lead, trying to live more normal lives. Princess Anne is a tireless campaigner for various charities like Save the Children's Fund and Engineers for Disaster Relief. Prince Andrew keeps as low a profile as possible. Once a dashing officer, he's now a devoted father.
Prince Andrew is a very outgoing, fun-loving man who remains very close to Sarah, Duchess of York, although they've been divorced, and is a very active participant in the raising of their two daughters. He's not a great socializer. His favorite thing is to stay home at night and watch videos.
Prince Edward is perhaps the least royal. In fact, he prefers to be called Edward Windsor. He is also the first royal to have a job, owning a film production company. And despite his low profile, Edward recently captured the spotlight with the announcement of his engagement to Sophie Rhys-Jones. She's a modern-day career woman who works as a public relations executive, and some say has the look and appeal of Diana. As for Prince Charles, trying to live normally is much tougher. Still, he is trying to enhance his image too. He has even hired a public relations firm to help. He recently revealed a more human side of himself in an interview with Town and Country magazine from his private estate called Highgrove, outside of London.
The home and garden are very much a reflection of who Charles is essentially. He is a wonderful gardener. He has a wonderful sense of space. He likes informal mixed with the formal. His wonderful path of time is a remarkable thing in beautiful colors. He designed it himself.
Highgrove is also the home of the most significant organic farm in the world. The fruits, vegetables, and grains that are grown there are free from artificial fertilizers and pesticides.
His intelligence and his interests, which were once derided as being radical and fringe, the environment, organic farming, are now becoming somewhat accepted ideas. I think all of that has persuaded most Britons that yes, he is fit to be king.
But what of the Camilla question? After Diana's death, Charles's romantic relationship with his former girlfriend, Camilla Parker Bowles, became more public. Could his relationship with a divorced woman cost him the throne?
I put that question to one of his principal aides, who said to me, a Prince of Wales with a girlfriend is no problem. A king with a girlfriend is trickier.
But the point may be moot for now, since Queen Elizabeth shows no signs of retirement. And so Charles continues his various projects, and raising his sons. Under his guidance, they are turning into quite capable young men. Prince William is a student at Eton, Britain's elite private school. Over 6 feet tall, with blue eyes and movie-star good looks, he's as captivating as his mother once was. But if William feels pressured about the future, the handsome prince doesn't seem to show it. He enjoys a very close relationship with his younger brother, Harry. He's careful not to steal the spotlight away from him. When Harry started his first day at Eton, William made sure he was not present, because he wanted his brother to feel special. And Harry, who is more outgoing than William, seems to relish in the attention. William and Harry. It is with them that the pages of history will be written and the British monarchy preserved. And it is also with them that the world will never forget the gentle, loving lady who was their mother. Even in death, Diana's influence holds sway over the British monarchy. She raised her sons to be caring, compassionate, and thoughtful people. And as they take the monarchy into the 21st century at the side of their father, one can only hope that they will carry with them the passion, excitement, and concern for humanity that defined the life of their mother, Diana. Wardrobe provided by Lord & Taylor.